So many Nigerians are not really proud of Nigeria. They leave Nigeria, they start talking, oh man, I can't go back. Look at how our Nigerian individuals celebrate having foreign citizenship. You look at that, you're asking yourself, was Nigeria that bad? Yes. Make up all the stories you want, you can give all the statistics you want, but they're telling you from personal experience what they experience. They graduate from school, they don't have a job. They graduate from school, they don't have anything. They don't even have minimum wage. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Raging Hot Mics podcast. I'm excited today, really excited, and why wouldn't I be? Of course, I'm wearing the Nigerian jersey. I'm proud of the Super Eagles, proud of my motherland, Nigeria. So, having watched the Super Eagles demolish Gabon 4-1, it was 1-1 at the beginning. That's the first, the duration 90 minutes. It was 1-1, although Gabon equalized in the dying minutes, but Nigeria saw it off, scoring 3 goals in the extra time. I'm really, really proud to be Nigerian, and I'm always proud, and I'll forever be proud. Now, tonight we're going to talk about something a topic that is very interesting, and it is the reason why I feel that Nigeria is where it is today because of the mistakes or because of the governance of the ruling class or the government. Because you all know before the match, the Super Eagles went on a, what I call, they refused to train. They went on a strike because they were old salaries. And you're talking about, it was alleged they were old up since they've been old up to 2019. They haven't received a dime of their pay. So that means these guys have been working, traveling, coming to work without being paid. They've been patriotic, they've been doing it. And before today's game, they staged a walkout and then they didn't come out for training. I'm surprised how most big stations or big radio stations didn't put more pressure on the government for it to be looked into, because having won this game, and I bet if Nigeria qualifies for the World Cup, it will be swept under the carpet. This is an NFF, Nigerian Football Federation, that pockets more than $1.2 million every year from the FIFA as regards the FIFA Forward program. So what exactly are they doing with it if they can't pay the players? Now listen, even the Bible says a laborer deserves his wages. It's clear. I think if you owe someone salary, it's criminal. There's nothing you can tell me about. That's my belief. You have to pay them. They don't have to beg you. It's not a privilege. It's a right. You must pay people for their hard work. So why is the reason why the players will be owed their salary? Something I don't understand. It's the reason why our football federation is being run by mostly politicians. How many of them have a background in football? Nothing. You see things like that going on. And despite that, you see our Super Eagles still soaring high. It is more of a concept of talent and resilience overriding systematic failure. That's what you call it. That is when talent and resilience override systematic failure. Now you look at what has happened. You look at, first of all, the talking point is that 5 players, if you check the starting lineup, 5 players from our starting lineup in the Nigerian national team for the game against Gabon were foreign born. They were born in diaspora. They were not. They have Nigerian parents, but they were not born in Nigeria. Not that anything is wrong. If you also look at the Congo DR, that's Zaire national team, so many of them also were born in diaspora because you have Sidiki and some of them. But we all know that Zaire of Congo DR is a war right now. There's still conflict right now. Now, I'm not saying that we should not rejoice having 5 foreign player or diaspora players play for us. It is a thing of pride, but it's an indictment on our system. It's an indictment on our football philosophy. It's an indictment on our governance. It's an indictment on our country that 5 players out of 11, that is more than half. You're looking at more than 45%. We did not contribute anything to their football career. We did not contribute anything to the academy. We did not contribute anything to their growth, but we are reaping from them. These are the likes of Osai, I think Osai Samuel, Alex Iwobi, I think Ademola Lukman, and there's so many of them that played today. Even some of them in the bench, something Okoye, the goalkeeper, they are not Nigerian. And if you asking yourself, why is it that Nigerians excel abroad? Why is it? It is because we are born special. Just like the US, our diversity is our greatest strength. I can tell you that we are multi-ethnic, multi-religious. We are totally different people from the north to the south to the middle belt. We are totally different, different characteristics, but that is what makes us great. That is what makes us. If we are able to, if the government, for example, at least does the basic things for Nigeria, I bet you will be compared with the likes of China and the US. I can tell you that when it comes to human capital, I'm not joking with you. I can tell you authoritatively that Nigeria, when it comes to resources and human capital, I can tell you 100% that Nigeria has the human capital to compete with anybody in the world. And I'll back it up with that. Okay, you look at the statistics, you look at America, for example, 64% of Nigerian Americans have bachelor's degree in America. 4%, that's a lot. That means more than half of every American in America has a bachelor's degree, and that is a big number. You look at the second one, 29% of Nigerian Americans have advanced masters, PhD, or advanced professional courses. That is 29%. That is 2.9 people out of every 10 have advanced certification, masters, PhD. Then you look at also 52 to 77% of all black doctors in the US are Nigerian immigrants. Can you imagine? 52 to 77%. That means out of every 10 doctors, black doctors you see in America, out of every, out of close to 5 to 7 out of every 10 black doctors you see in America are Nigerian immigrants. That is high. That tells you that 5 to 7 of 10 black doctors in America are Nigerian immigrants. That is high. Now, what is the population of overall Nigerians in overall black population in America? That is just 1%. We make up 1% of the black American in Nigeria or African American in Nigeria, yet we make up more than 55% of the black doctors. That is an overrepresentation. There's no how you can tell me that we don't have the capital resources to match anybody on earth. That there's no how. You look at the Jackpot syndrome, you look at young people living in droves, young people living in multitude, young people leaving the country. You had the infamous Minister of Labour once say that Nigeria has what it takes. Any doctor that leaves the country, Nigeria will produce another doctor. He was saying it and he was irresponsibly saying it because it didn't make sense, because they were telling you that people are leaving the country because the country is not providing anything for them. You look at the benefits of robust provision for citizens as regards Nigeria. Number one benefit, if the government provides universal health care, the schools, free education for schools, not just the free education we have in Nigeria. No, we are talking of a system of education where kids are fed. You come to America, kids are fed in schools in America. At least they eat 2 meals in school. That is to alleviate the pressure from the parents. The parents should worry when they get back home. You look at those sort of things. You look at free health, free universal health care, the universal health care or insurance for them. You look at such sickness like diabetes. So I'm not talking just sickness like diabetes, such sickness like high blood pressure. If they are provided free medical health or there's any sort of insurance that covers individual, because you look at an economy, if you have healthy individual, if you have individuals that are healthy, individuals that are strong, those individuals are ready to work, those individuals have the capital. You can't work when you are sick. You cannot. So imagine where we are when most of our population are not sickly, most of our population are not hospital bound. That is the first point. Look at the second point: economic stabilization and growth, lack of safety net. In the US, you have what is called EBT cards, where you have cards where you can buy certain like fruits, like some fruits for your baby, like egg. Just it could be like $150. It's a little bit less. But you look at the other one called Snap. Snap is way more bigger, looking at close to $300 every month in a card for your child or for your children. You look at that, you look at the Section 8, the housing project. Right here in the US, for example, when you are sick and you're emergency, for example, gunshot wound, for example, trauma, for example, you have high blood pressure, for example, you slump and fall, you hit your head on the wall or whatever, you go straight to the hospital. Nobody's asking you for deposit. Look at Nigeria where there's emergency, they're asking the family to pay deposit. I don't care what you tell me. Just say if you require private, if private hospitals are requiring patients to part with deposit, okay, maybe it's private. I understand it's against their ethical or whatever, but at the same time, they have to make money. So you can't run him out of business. I mean, I'm not supporting that, but just being logical. If the government is telling the private hospitals to provide that and then come back and they will reimburse them, then it's okay. But the government hospital, the government or the politicians cannot be telling the private clinics, oh, provide healthcare, remember your old, remember your medical, or remember this, but you don't want to reimburse them. That means you're talking from both sides of your mouth. So if you're telling them that, don't worry, provide these things to these people, reimburse. Look at the government hospitals. There should be a general hospital in at least every local government. There should be general hospitals, general centers to cater for individuals. For malaria, for emergency, these things should not be levied. People should not be meant to pay deposit in order to receive emergency. After the emergency, you can get a system where you can get that you have the social security number and all those. You can always go to their bank account. There should be a process. Healthcare is wealth. Health is wealth. Like a country cannot grow without putting its healthcare in order. Look at another example of when government provides amenities to the citizens. You're looking at increased national unity and trust in government. Yes, patriotism. Do you understand? So many Nigerians are not really proud of Nigeria. They leave Nigeria, they start talking, man, I can't go back. I was in darkness. Look at how our Nigerian individuals celebrate having foreign citizenship. The moment they have citizenship, they write long story. You look at that, you're asking yourself, was Nigeria that bad? Yes, for so many of them. You can make up all the stories you want, you can give all the statistics you want, but they're telling you from personal experience what they experience. They're telling you from experience, they graduate from school, they don't have a job. They graduate from school, they don't have anything. They don't even have minimum wage. Because if, for example, you have minimum wage job, you have under the table job where you might not be paid too much, depending on the state, you might be earning $13. It's not enough. If you're earning $13 or whatever, there's a credit system where you can pay every month or whatever at the end of the month. Also, there's some system where you can always get the EBT card from the government. You trust your government, you love your government, you fight for your country, defend your country. But you can't be telling a hungry man to defend their country. Where's the patriotism coming from? You see Nigerian immigrants who migrate from Nigeria, they come abroad, they want to die for other countries. They go to the military, they register with the military, they fight for their military. They are ready to die. They are ready because those countries have given them so much, because those countries have sown a seed in their life, because those countries have provided for them. What have they done for us? Even some of the schools some of us went to was private schools. There's basically no social program. There's basically no social net. You look at it, and then at the end, when something happens, they will tell you that foreign countries are after your minerals, they're after your solid minerals, they're after your oil, they're after your resources. Who cares what resources? You look at even oil. How much is the oil? How much is the petrol? How much is the gas? Explicitly expensive. It's out of reach. How many people can afford a gallon of petrol right now? Not many. Look at more than $1,000 or 800, 1,000 naira, or 800 or 700 naira, depending on where you are. That's a lot. How much is the minimum with 70,000? I think it's 70,000. How much is the rent? So you realize that you can't keep up. You can't keep up with that lifestyle. Then the fourth one is social and social greater equality and social justice. The government provides for the people, there will be greater equality because you look at our Gini ratio. Our Gini ratio is 3.5, 3.5. That's sorry, 35.5. That's medium. That shows the Gini ratio shows the inequality in the country. That means the gap between the poorest and the richest. You can have the very richest and then so okay. For better understanding, let's go to the per capita. Our Nigerian per capita is $1,200 per capita. So the total GDP is 285 billion. That is 52nd in the world. It's not really bad. It's not really bad, but it's still a little bit good for as regards total. But you look at the total, you divide it by the population of people. You are looking at more than 230 million Nigerians. When you divide, you get $120 per capita. That is too small. That ranks out as 173 in the whole world in ranking. So you can be shouting, we're Africa's fastest growing economy, we're Africa. No, you are not. The only Africa growing economy with the richest of the richest. It doesn't trickle down to the other low countries, to the regular guy on the street. It doesn't trickle down. That growth is just the oil sector. It's just the richest of the richest that are benefiting from it. So that is why you look at some countries, they might not have high GDP. Look at the Scandinavian countries, the likes of Norway, Denmark, but they have a quality of life. Okay, to better understand that, let's look at the Human Development Index. That's the HDI. The Human Development Index for Nigeria says it is 0.56. That's the human 0.56. It's still medium, but it's still not very, very high, because that accounts for the level of education, that accounts for the education, that accounts for health, and then the last and the least, the standard of living. The standard of living is still way behind. So all these things, if the government did a good job with the population, you would have had a greater equality and then social justice. And the last and not the least, improve governance and reduce corruption. Because if the government was doing what they were doing, there would be very little corruption. Because you can think Nigeria is really corrupt, but corruption, I'm not covering up for it, but poverty causes corruption. There's a reason why judges are highly paid. There's a reason why judges are highly paid. Because if you pay them very, very high, it discourages bribery. There's a sort of salary they'll be receiving if someone is offering them something. You can't be paying them very low, and then, but that, even at that, there's reports of some judgments that is the topic for another day. But I'm just saying that there's corruption because people are hungry. People don't know where to get their next food. If people are way more comfortable, there's a difference thing. You're dealing with inflation and all those, but people don't even have houses. People don't have shelter. People are homeless, and then you're telling them, "Oh, listen." No, they're not going to listen to you. So I'm using this occupation to appeal to the government, because you can see what is happening with Nigerians abroad. You can see how Nigerians abroad are doing well. You can see how Nigerians abroad are representing us. You can see with the Super Eagles. You can see how they play. If they are not funded, well funded, you look at Alex Iwobi with his social media account. You can look at the hotel they were lodged. Outside the hotel, it looked like a ghetto in Morocco. It was bad. So when you look at all these things and yet you see how good they are, yes, Nigeria has not made it to the World Cup for some time. I think they missed the last World Cup. But at the same time, look at where we are. There is no program. There's no football program. It's dead. Back then, is it the Principal's Cup or whatever? It had the Nuga games. It's dead. Right now, for you to realize how bad our football is, how many players in our national team played for the local league? It's no longer happening. It's no longer the likes of Kano Nwankwo played for Iwana United, Okocha played for Rangers of Enugu. I think Stephen Keshi was the first Nigerian who went abroad. I think it was Stephen Keshi. Yeah, I think it was Stephen Keshi that opened that up. But you can see that so many of them, some Finidi George, did he play? I think he plays for Sharks of Port Harcourt or whatever. So many of them play for the local leagues, but now it doesn't happen no more. All they do is to go from the football academy or to abroad. That means that local league is gone. It's all gone, and yet CAF receives money every month or every year for allocation. Where's the money going to? If they can hold the Super Eagles, what happens to the Super Falcons? What happens to the under 21? What happens to the under 23? There's no accountability, there's nothing. And sadly, the government can't do anything because the government can't suspend them when FIFA gets involved. This is time for accountability. This is time for our leaders to wake up and look and ask themselves, how can we do better? Because if the country is good, it's for our own betterment. Now I call on the Super Eagles to continue the good job they have done. I expect them to qualify for the World Cup, because if there's anything that unites us, it is football. Football is one thing that unites all Nigeria. Football is one thing that when it happens, nobody thinks of where this person is come from. We all come together as one. So that is why it should be one of our greatest strengths. That is why it should be our priority. So if our government can look into this and then try and do better for us, I think Nigeria will be a better place for you and I. Thanks everyone, and join us next time again. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks.